All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming and attending. We'll try that. Oh. All right, we'll try that one more time. That would get annoying if there were two of me. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for attending our last general meeting of the semester. Today we have a very special guest from Mitre, and we're going to be talking about diversifying your skills for career readiness. But before we get into that, we're going to go through some ACM announcements for the end of the year. So if you're not already following us on social media platforms, here they all are. If this is your first ACM meeting, welcome. Please join our Discord. That's where we're most active. You can open up a web browser and go to discord.acmutsa.org, and that will take you directly to our server. And also, if this is your first meeting, we highly encourage you to become a member. Membership is completely free, and this is all thanks to partners like Mitre. So you can sign up on our website or scan this QR code, and we do it attendance-based. So if you come to 9 of our meetings, you will get an invite to our spring banquet, which is actually happening May 1st. You will also get a t-shirt if you have not received one from this year. And if you are graduating this semester, you will get a ACM stole to wear at graduation. And this is for new members only. You need to sign in as a new member before our attendance tracking, which I will throw that QR code up there in a couple minutes. All right, so here's some upcoming events. You might be wondering, how do I get those 9 points? It seems like a lot. Well, here's everything that we have to offer from now until our banquet. So you can get 5 points just by going to this, and that's quite the valiant effort. So we have ICPC this Sunday. They're going to meet up at 11 a.m. in the North Paseo building or on Discord. Next Tuesday, we also have some more guests coming from Mitre. Mitre cybersecurity engineers who are going to talk about their experience as women in STEM. So I highly encourage you to go to that, ask them questions, come with questions that you have for working professionals. That's going to be Tuesday, April 26th at 4 p.m. And we will announce all of these locations in the Discord. Also on Tuesday, we have a steganography guest speaker that's coming at 5 p.m. And then on Wednesday, a little bit later than our usual time, but at 2 p.m., this should actually say 2 p.m., we have an introduction to embedded systems with Alex, our projects chair and vice president-elect. And then the last thing we have Wednesday is we're going to be having a social, and then the location is to be announced. So look out for all of the updates and things like that in the Discord. And the last event will be our spring banquet. So if you attend 9 of those meetings or you attended 8 in the fall, you will receive an email. You should have received an RSVP email. If you're checking on Gmail, please check in the promotions tab. It might have gotten filtered out there. Or if you didn't get the email, please just ask an officer on Discord. But you have to RSVP to attend, and you have to be an ACM member. It's business casual attire. It'll be Sunday, May 1st at 1 p.m. And the location is sent to your email. All right, now here's the sign to get your point for today's meeting. So you can sign in at acmutsa.org/sign-in/ACM or scan the QR code on the screen now. And I'll leave this up for about 1 more minute, but if you don't get it, feel free to come up to me afterwards, and we can also do that after the presentation. All right, I think everybody got it. So for this talk today, please feel free to ask questions throughout as they come up. Make sure that everything that you were wondering gets answered. But it's my pleasure to introduce Bobby Blunt, who is the Texas Innovation Hub lead at Mitre. So thanks, Bobby. Let's hear it for Bobby.
So it's a pleasure to be here with you all, without a doubt, lightly. And as she said, the worst thing that can happen when you're up here is if you don't get any questions, like, oh man, that's bad. So as we go along, please ask any questions that you may have. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about who Mitre is, just give you background, so you may know, so you may not, but it definitely relate to our talk as we talk about the skills that I think know that to be really successful in your careers, we're going to really try to broaden you out. And even a very technical company like Mitre Corporation, I'm really going to emphasize that just knowing the technical part, if you really want to be successful, is not enough today. And I'm going to do that for a couple of reasons. One, because of my experience of working with Mitre Corporation, but two, because I want UTSA to always be on top of everybody else, all the universities. I've been here most of this morning, I'm here a lot, et cetera, and I want y'all to really show the rest of the world literally how to do it. And as a key part of that, the reason why I can do that is, one, I'll talk about what I do at Mitre, but I do a lot also with small businesses and up and coming starters in the Austin area, the San Antonio area, et cetera. And I'm involved with mentoring and helping them be successful. So when it comes to how to make a successful small business also, in addition to being successful at the big corporations, whether it be Google's and others, I've been fortunate to have a little bit of insight on that. So that's the other aspect that I give, okay? So we're gonna jump around just a little bit, but first, I've got to do a, sometimes I do people favors, believe it or not. And I have an Air Force friend. And my Air Force friend that I work with is actually the major sponsor that we work with on the cyber. He actually works for the Air Force Cryptologic and Cyber System Division at Joint Base Antonio. And as part of that, he had asked me when he heard us coming here, he said, hey, can you tell the students that we're also hiring? So, so believe it or not, if you have not heard of us, I'm going to do a brief commercial break, all right, so I can say that I did this. His name is Gilbert.Dominguez, Gilbert.Dominguez at us.af.mil, or you can get it through myself. But they do have a pretty good program. And this is what they call their, if you haven't heard about it, Palace Acquire and other things. But the basic of it is, you'll see the career fields are really looking for computer science and engineers right now. And he needs it by next week. So if anybody's interested, he said, send his resume and your transcript. And again, they'll pay for your degree, they guarantee you a job, and some other aspects, okay? So Gilbert.Dominguez at us.af.mil. If anybody asks you on the hallway, you can say that Bobby did do that favor for him. Okay. So I'm gonna go, let's go back and sort of look. I wanted to see, thank you all for responding to the survey part that we had. It really gives me background and understanding as I talk about the different elements I'm going to talk to see where, I know you all had some of the buzzwords, but I was curious on how many you would identify in terms of what the key things the students are going to learn. And you can see these are results that we have at this particular time. And I think you've done really well with the communication aspect, the adaptability, the time management. The one that I don't see up there that surprises me a little bit, unless I missed it, was, leadership's up there a little bit. You're going to see how I'm going to say that's really probably one of the most important ones for a lot of different angles, et cetera. So this is good. This is good. Looking right quick. I think you sort of catch on. The social one's another key one. Okay, but this is good that y'all captured that part of it. And then the second one we had, see how we did. This is a trick question to some degree. Oh, interesting. So this is the one that asks, and I'm going to show you data in a second. All right, just think about this for now. I'm going to show you some of the data in the San Antonio area on which career field. And the key word actually on this one was graduate students. All right, that was the key word. And you'll see the difference. And this study was actually done by, does anybody know Dr. Villarreal, Michael Villarreal, here on the campus? We had him do an education attainment study for us to see which, in Texas, what were your first job, what was the highest paying? If you got an associate degree, if you got a certification, if you got a bachelor's degree, and if you got a graduate degree. Okay, so I'm gonna share that with you. Let me say this, y'all missed it, but no, I'm not allowed to say that, that'd be politically incorrect, okay? For graduate. Okay, so we'll come back to that part too. So let me start out first. What I wanna do first is just give you a little background on Mitre. How many think they know who Mitre is? Oh, that's good. Y'all don't know. Okay, good. All right. So I'm gonna nobody does. I'm gonna explain a little bit about what Mitre does, and then we'll go from there. So let me start out first with this. If I maintain connectivity. All right. So okay. That's not what Mitre is, but we'll go with it. Skip that. Yeah. All right. Skip that. That's you never know what's going to come up when you do those ads. Let's see if it'll run. Huh? Yeah, it did. Oh, y'all got me on mute. That's why. Or that's why will it interfere if I run that video, the volume? Okay, we'll skip that. I just thought about what we were doing, so it's not gonna. Oh, don't worry about it. I can do it in words just as well as I can on that. If I can do it better and worse. All right, so let me just go ahead and bring up the presentation. Let me bring up the presentation for you. Okay. Okay. All right, so a little bit about Mitre, and if you have any questions about Mitre, it's really confusing, to be honest, who Mitre Corporation is. It's very hard to understand. So feel free to ask me, definitely any questions. Remember what I said, if you don't ask me a question, I'll feel bad. So Mitre Corporation is established to operate in the public interest. All right, you say, okay, what does that mean? Okay, and the way the company actually is set up different than any other, as a group, than most corporations are. And so what that actually means is, what you'll hear Mitre say a lot, we operate what's called federally funded research and development centers. You got it, FFRDCs. There's only a limited number of organizations that are allowed to operate what they call federally funded research and development centers. All right, there's actually about 20 something that can do that. And we have, Mitre has the most, having 6 FFRDCs we operate. Most only have 1. Real quick example. You said, give me an example of one. Y'all ever heard of RAND Corporation? So RAND Corporation is sort of a think tank in certain areas for the government. Okay, it is a think tank to do policy type analysis, et cetera. But not all of RAND Corporation is, for example, an FFRDC. They have a portion that is. MIT Lincoln Labs, for example, is another one that has FFRDC, a portion. We're one of the few that most of the company, if not all of it, is dependent on that FFRDC part. We're not-for-profit corporation, 9,000 employees, and you see that up there about, oh good, I got that right without even looking. I was guessing the number. 9,000 employees. And I would say about 80% of those 9,000 employees have a master's degree in computer science and engineering or something related. So it's a very technical type of company. The way that we're set up, which makes it altogether different, okay, is that we can only do work for the federal government, and we're never allowed to compete against anybody else for work. So if Apple could do it, IBM could do it, SAIC can do that work. If the government says they can do it, Mitre's prohibited. So in theory, Mitre's supposed to take on the government's most challenging type of problems, upfront type things. So when it comes to cyber, for example, that's my big area that I'm involved with. Cyber is a big challenge for the government. That's the type of things that we'll take on. Healthcare now, some Federal Aviation Administration. I'll show you some other examples, okay? The other rule is the Mitre can't compete against anybody else. You got that part of it, okay, as a basic requirement. And again, it has to be a big technical system engineering type of challenge that we're solving just for the government per se. Okay, so has everybody got the picture? Is that a little bit, helps you a little to understand what that means? Okay, here you'll see, and you see the words to solve the complex, national, global, etc. So these are some of the examples that those fairly funded research and development centers fall under. And you'll see, for example, air traffic collision avoidance, threat-informed defense on cybersecurity, protecting our borders, data standards, etc. Okay, so the whole ideal again is these are, if you notice one thing, one common word we'll use, and I start out with is, it's meant to solve public type problems that are very complex for our nation. So big challenges that we may face as a nation. So those are the type of people, and those are the type of things that we do within Mitre itself. Okay. So the transition is going to be, and the reason why I'm going to talk about what I am in just a second on why you have to be diverse and have different types of skills across the board. So the way that Mitre operated before, all right, is we would primarily solve the problem for the government on our own, literally. I mean, we get behind some labs, behind some doors. For different reasons, Mitre would work on problems by itself. And what we've realized recently is you can't do that anymore. If you're on your own, you're not going to solve a cyber problem, for example, a healthcare type problem. There's no one entity that can solve the challenges that we're facing now. So that's when Mitre began to say, and this is where my role comes in, so I'll tell you all what I do, is Mitre then began to say, we got to get out there and work with others to help solve these different type of challenges that we're facing. And that includes, one example is working with universities. That's why we are here at UTSA to work with our university partners. We want the not only interns, but I know Daniel, for example, is working on our, I don't know how many, anybody else is working on our Protecting Communities challenge that we're working on? Well, let me tell y'all real quick. Let me tell you what Daniel's working on for us, okay? So here's what Daniel is doing. You better get this right or we're all in trouble. So what Daniel is actually working on for us in protecting communities, we have about 70 UTSA students in the cyber operations course, correctly? And we have about 10 or 12 of us as mentors on the Mitre end, and there's a couple other companies involved too. We have about teams of 5 or 6. And what these teams of 5 or 6 are doing, the UTSA students with the one mentor, and the students are really the lead for it, they are going out and doing cyber assessments, my way of saying it, for churches and nonprofits in the San Antonio area, because they have nobody else to help them out, literally. So we've got teams out there doing those type of things. We couldn't do that as Mitre, and it's actually seen as a nationwide model, because what we can do is say, boy, if we can get university students and others, we can have what? We need big numbers out there to do these type of things, et cetera. So that's what we realized, those type of partnership opportunities and doing capstone and graduate programs. If y'all have some ideas, we'll jump on that. If it's going to help out do research for the federal government on a difficult problem they have, we're more than happy to do that part of it. We're working with your faculty here to have them do research for us also. In addition, is the other one, and this is the one I mentioned a little bit earlier, is the small businesses that I'm a big advocate for. My job is in Texas Innovation Hub is to go out and make university partnerships, but it's also to accelerate small businesses going from commercial world over to the government world and to help them out as they go along. Okay, so that's why I'm so interested in building up on the small business side of the house too. So we want them because we see them as they're the ones that can develop innovation probably more than others can per se. Now, that's where the whole world is going into. And then the last one is we're actually working more with commercial type entities too, your big companies and others. Again, are we all seen as partners? So that's to give you all the idea on the type of things and type of engagements we have now. Okay. So y'all got to have a question. Any question about what Mitre does or the type of thing we're doing? Yeah, go ahead. The attack. Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I thought you could say the attack framework. Are we being recorded? Oh, if we are, I can't say what I was going to say then. Yeah, but I am anyway. The reason why, because I'm going to tell you, I get so tired of just hearing about the attack framework because I've been around Mitre for a while. That's just one little sample of something we do. There's a whole we have much bigger capabilities about that, but it's good, no doubt, if you're on the cyber side. But to answer your question is, yeah, we do a whole lot more than just cyber side of the house. In San Antonio, that's our biggest emphasis just because of what's going on and the cyber city and what's going on at Joint Base San Antonio. But we're looking for computer scientists, for programming type things. We're working, I've talked to some healthcare people. I was actually working with some people in Dallas and Houston on healthcare type issues. We're looking for psychologists. We're looking for a good variety of individuals, without a doubt. So to answer your question, we're much broader than just the cyber elements that we're looking for, okay? We just emphasize that here because of national security collaboration and some other things. But I would say the other biggie is those that are involved in AI, artificial intelligence, and those that may be involved with data science and data engineering. If you're in those fields also, you can just about write your own ticket, no matter where you may go, with Mitre or anybody else, because we all have those particular needs. Okay. Any other? Okay, yeah, go ahead. Oh yeah. No doubt. Yep, we definitely are. We actually, we're definitely looking in that space. And you mentioned AR, VR. We actually just visited your AR, VR lab that's here last week because there's some things that we're doing related to that too. So yeah, anything that fits into an emerging technology, if I can describe it that way, like AI, like AR, VR, data science, data engineering, et cetera. Those are, we're definitely involved with those across the board. So the company sort of split in half. One part of it is dealing with just technology type issues, research and development in those spaces and labs, et cetera. The other half works with sponsors, like a cyber sponsor and a health sponsor and everything else. And so the real interest, to be honest, from my standpoint, is really on that emerging technology and how far we can take things and then taking it to those different sponsors. Anything else? Okay. All right. So here's that other information I told I was going to share with you. So this is, can y'all, yeah, you can see that because I can see it. Okay. This is that information that where I asked you the beginning question. And I'm going to step through 4 real quick. All right. It's not to get you to change your degree or anything else along those particular lines. All right. Just information out of San Antonio that we sort of, we pulled together. All right. So this is certifications. Which one do you see at the top? Yeah, but look what's second. Yeah, you wouldn't have known that, right? So if you're going to get a certification in San Antonio, or in Texas, I'm not San Antonio, in Texas, that shows you where. And remember, this is your first year. These are the salaries for the first year after you graduated. All right. That theology one. Anyway. Okay. Next, associate degree. What's that top again? All right. Second. Yeah, especially here. But notice where business is too. This is going to be important in a second. I'm leading you a little bit. Business is about in the middle. Yeah, yeah. So what does that tell you? Don't spend your money on what? Huh? Yeah, for that, in that area. All right. Next one. Which one you looking at? Oh, y'all still focused on the. Okay, my talk wasn't about theology, but I can change it quickly. Okay, so again, engineering, not surprising, engineering technologies and health. Okay, this is sort of what everybody sort of expect. This followed your survey. But watch this. This is the one that threw me off in Texas. This is what a graduate degree. Look what jumped up. And what else? Yeah. Yeah. Did it a little bit with a But look at the amount also with I mean, that's pretty significant. Okay. Okay. But why is that the case? And how does it relate to what I'm about to talk about? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's a key factor that I'm getting to is that's right. By then, especially remember who you're hiring a master's or whatever else it may be, it's when you're able to avoid, when you can get beyond specialization, my way of saying it. Because when you get the business degree, you've done the marketing. You know how to market in theory, at least on paper. You also know how to communicate with others because that's a part of the criteria, et cetera. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is that doesn't just apply to the business degree, that applies to engineering also. So the way that you really can strengthen your career and your opportunities is you not only do you understand, okay, I understand about computer science, and I do programming, and I do Python, et cetera. That's great. You have a good starting salary to start out. But as you really want to have an impact, especially if you want to start your own business, if you really want to control things, my way of saying it, those other skills are what really carry you far too. And it takes a lot of work. You can't ignore one and do the other one. You got to be strong. My company in Mitre, the ones that initially make it are the ones that are the strongest technically without. The ones that keep making it are those that can say, okay, I know how to do marketing, I know how to communicate with others, I know how to build teams and those other elements, et cetera. So the other part I was going to state was, as a part of that, the things that you're doing now play heavily into that. Okay, and I'll come back to that. All right, I'm going to change subjects on y'all again. I jump around all over the place, but that's okay. And it's related to the question you asked me earlier on what type of degrees are you looking for? Okay, so I'm going to set this up first. All right, how many computer scientists do we have in here? Oh, go ahead. I did. That's Mitre, man. That's not me. Mitre doing that. Okay, so we have. All right, so you need me to go back to sharing the screen? Okay, that'd be fine. All right, that worked just fine. All right, let me go back to this then. Let me go back to where I was currently. All right, from current slide. Y'all may see in advance, you may cheat a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna show you something here. Okay, what do y'all notice? Can y'all figure out what this is showing you? Are they jumbled up? Huh? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you did it. And if I had a prize, I'd give it to you. All right, you get a piece of pizza. Anyway, yeah, this is a so this first I'm gonna do technical, then I'm gonna broaden it out for you. So this was really given to us when we assigned a computer scientist to develop a program that was for the United States Air Force. And this is what they came back with. And you're laughing away, but and I'm gonna give you a real simple example first, and I'm gonna make it a lot more complex after that. So this actually happened because what did they do? You figured out, right? They did it alphabetically, right? Okay. So the ones that are selling this chart, the person that would talk to you about, and she actually may be here next week, is to fix this problem, all right? What type of person can help that computer scientist? Or what type of skill do you need? This is what you would call a human factors problem, right? Because it doesn't just apply to alphabetical, there's other things human factor engineers do. Okay, so human factors engineer will correct this real quickly, or mindset like a human factors engineering. Right? Remember, this really happened. But let's take it a little bit further. And that's why I said the diverse skills are key, because a programmer would miss this, etc. What we're actually finding now is when you get something a little bit more complex, in terms of, for example, there's another experimentation we're actually doing. How do you lay out a screen is very, very critical. So if you're programming, where you put elements, where my eyes follow, how I track things is very, very important. Okay, especially if you're doing web development, there's other tricks you can do. People just do web development is actually when it's a real science behind it, high number, not just number of clicks, but where things are placed, etc. Because that means what to somebody that's making money. And the faster I can do things and more, the better I can do that, that means they make more money. Even a nonprofit, realize part of it too. So that's why when it comes to engineering and other skills, there's that diversity element that's extremely critical there too. So I'm going to tell y'all, I need y'all to help me a little bit. I'm going to tell you one quick story. Watch your time. One quick story about a job that I had. And first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna describe it to you, and I want you to tell me. I'm gonna just give you background. I'm gonna give you background like I came into this job to do, and then I want you to tell me how you would have addressed it, and then I'm gonna show you why different skills are so critical across the board. Okay. So first of all, let me explain. I'm a cybersecurity engineer. I've been doing cybersecurity engineer probably. Oh, to y'all. If y'all took, let's say y'all, let me describe it this way. If you're playing a game, you would have 3 additional lives of your age. That's where I'm at. Anyway, you can do the math yourself. Anyway, so I've been an engineer for a very long time. But with Mitre, in my job, I do a lot of other things too. I mean, I've done studies, for example, in Cheyenne Mountain. Y'all may not know what Cheyenne Mountain is. So that's where all the nuclear and everything else and et cetera. So very critical to the U.S. I had to do a study on, they had technology back to the 60s. How could they upgrade their technology? And that technology could not be hacked, because if it did, the U.S. was done, game over. So they had to figure out, okay, what can we do safely and how, et cetera. I've done those type of things. I've actually gone over to Guantanamo Bay. So Guantanamo Bay, they had asked me to come over to say, then, remember, I was a cyber person, hey, we got to replace all of our networks and other things. We use undersea cable. Okay, how do we redesign it? How do we replace that when it's undersea cable? You can't just have somebody connect things up. Anyway, those are the type of things I've done. One of the jobs I actually was asked to do was with the city of Houston. It was very unusual for Mitre to do this, but it was something that was a national concern. So here's the description, all right? And this is where I need y'all's help. So the city of Houston 911 system was not working. It was out. Didn't know why. Okay, and this is about 3 or 4 years ago. A lot of press, a lot of other things behind it. We knew one thing going in, that they had replaced their older system and consolidated everybody together. So in the past, the 911 emergency, the ambulance had one 911, police had another one, fire had another one. They consolidated into the same facility. Okay, and it wasn't working. And what does it mean it wasn't working? It means calls were dropping. So they had called and said, we don't know what's going on. We're the city of Houston. We can't figure this out. Their contractor was a big name contractor. They were blaming Houston. Houston was blaming them. So they called in us and we need a middle player that, one, can challenge that big contractor, because technically we could go up against them. Two, that could also represent the city of Houston to say, hey, we can talk with and communicate with your folks, understand what's going on. Okay? All right, so that's the description. Now y'all tell me, I need y'all's help. what would you do first? I mean, not first. What would you look at? What type of skills do you think you would need just given that backdrop? And that's what I had. I had to fly out the next day or what, drive. But you got the idea. Go ahead, give me some. Tell me, what would you do? Good. Yep, that's good. Man, you must have read my notes. But yeah, that's going. Go ahead, give me more. Huh? Yep, check with the technicians. Keep going. Delegation of what? Yep. Uh-huh. Okay. Yep. Keep going. Good. Telecommunications. What else? Y'all missing a couple. Some of y'all computer scientists should jump on this one. Software engineers, right? Yeah, because you know it involves software, right? Yeah. What else? I think y'all did pretty good. The first one was, oh, go ahead. Yep. Yep. Agree. Yep. All right. So good. Y'all did good. So let me tell you what we did. And again, remember, this is me coming in. This is Mitre. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is a very technical company. Very technical company. All right. And I'm going to emphasize that again. But here's what we had to do to solve that type of problem. Okay. So you're right. So we did have to have software engineers because there's programming involved. So we had to look at all their software, what they had loaded, et cetera, what versions they had, and some other things across the board. We had to have some network and other telecommunications folks because we had to actually monitor and trace through all their lines, every single thing to see what was going on in that particular regard. We also had RF. You know, we always forget RF. We always got to remember, you know, city sides of Houston, you don't just have everything's not connected directly, especially then, et cetera. But the other one is what was interesting that we also had to bring into this team and realize up front is what you just stated. We had we had two sides. We had the technical side, but we also had the people side. And the people side was just as critical as the technical side. So we, if you've ever dealt with the personalities of a police chief, for example, I don't know if y'all ever done, to talk to a police chief, you don't just go up and talking technical and I can connect this, et cetera, as well as you just have to know how to talk to a police chief if you really want to talk to a police chief. Okay, and it's the half also. And dealing with police in general, you know, they have different personalities. So we had to have people that really could talk to police, fire, and another critical one that most people don't think about, man, I wish you had recorded it. But anyway, unions also, because unions determine what? The labor force, where you said technicians, it's not the technicians, it's the unions and others that sort of determine what may happen. Because our going in was we have no idea what kind of problem this is. We don't know if this is truly a technical problem. And the rumors were that it was a new system that the union and members might have been crazy about. They didn't want the system because police had no fire on, so they're going to favor themselves. So we had to figure that part of it out. So that's where the negotiation and trying to figure things out across the board come into play. And we had to do all that again with the technical folks. And I bring it up in this particular light. Oh, I'll bring up one other thing too in a second. I bring it up in this light is we were able to do that because fortunate, and what I had did is I'd pulled people from all across Mitre and I said, hey, I got to have certain personalities. I need people that can, without a doubt, don't bring me any technical engineers who are going to start talking about this and that. They got to be able to talk to everybody per se and gain their trust. All this stuff always comes down to trust. So we were fortunate we had people, not a whole, I'm not going to say not a whole lot, but not a whole lot that really had those other skills that I was talking about, that could negotiate, talk to others, you know, explain the difference between a technical problem versus this type of thing. Okay. And then the last thing I'll bring up, to give you an example of that, is that you can get caught on. So we figured out what the problem was. Yeah, we were some luck, some it worked out. And I say that because, boy, with all the things we had to deal with, we spent about 2 weeks just nonstop, working basically about 18-hour days, just doing everything we could to try to figure it out. And we figured out, and when we told them what they needed to do, everything was fine. And that's rare, especially in a 2-week time period. And the size of the problem we had, we were able to figure that out. But let me tell you what I tell you, we had to have a diverse skills again. So the mayor, so when everything was okay and everything else, the mayor came out and he had a press conference. in the mirror, there was like 20 different cameras. I mean, it was like I said, it was national, local news, all facing that mirror, et cetera. So I was, just hanging out, I was packing my bags, getting ready to leave. And you might can guess what can happen. So they asked the mirror, hey, hey, of course. But anyway, how did y'all figure out what the problem was? He said, well, we thanks to the Mitre Corporation and this and that. And he said, then Mr. Bobby Blunt over there is going to give y'all more information. I'm like, what in the world? I had, nobody had told me I was going to, and I mean, he said literally it was 20 different cameras, NBC, all the national news and everything else. And I'm walking like, what in the world am I going to do? But I was, I was fortunate. And let me tell you the other part of the story was, see, I'm on the school board here in San Antonio area also. So I had been trained on how to handle media type things and how to respond, et cetera. So I was fortunate I had that background to where I figured out how I could, how do you say it? Adjust. I'll say the word adjust. I won't say anything else. How I could adjust to come up with something quickly just because I'd had that training. And I was fortunate I had very special training because the way I was actually trained on handling the media is how you handle a shock media type situation where you're throwing a question. How do you respond to it? Real quick example, sideline for y'all. That educational wise that I knew to watch out for. For example, if I want to, what's your shirt say? Super, yeah, that's okay. Metroid. Yeah, let's say that Super Metroid was negative for some particular reason. You didn't want to get that out. And then media asked you a question about, hey, why did you have Super Metroid on? The first thing you know is you never repeat that word. Because then people remember what you say, but they remember certain keywords, so you stay away from that. So I had done the same thing. I got thrown questions at media. I said, ooh, I got to be careful not to use certain words and to just make up something, not make up, because we're being recorded. But anyway, to steer the words I want to say that were positive per se. See how we solved it. But they would say, well, why did they get this wrong? I never said the word wrong or something like that. Anyway, the ideal is, being well-rounded is what I'm really getting at. I was fortunate that I had that school board experience that I would have never thought applied over to my technical side of the house. Okay, but that was my that's sort of my city of Houston one that I wanted to at least walk y'all through it, at least explain on a well-rounded part of it. So let me go back to what I really want to, the premise I want to go across to you all on the type of things you can do, and some of y'all are doing it. One is being a part of the ACM membership, no doubt a doubt, it gives you a start. But let me challenge you this way, okay? The first thing I think is the most important, without a doubt, is be strong in whatever area you're in technically, and then add to it more technically. Y'all know what I mean, right? So if you're a computer scientist, you need to know what the electrical engineers and network engineers or others are doing, or human factor engineers. You may not be perfect on it, but you need to understand that. You really do. Especially when you want to be in a leadership role. You got to understand what you're doing, but you got to understand what others are doing too, per se. So strong technically, do everything you can. If you do rowdy hacks, if you don't like cyber, do cyber anyway. If you're a cyber person, you should be doing things. You should be learning programming, other things. So you got the idea on that part, because in the end, that's what's really going to give you the starting point that you need to. The second one I want to point out to you is be a leader. It's not enough to be part of ACM. Take her job away from her, because you need that experience. It all pays off for you later. I'm very involved, and I get my staff very involved in the community. Matter of fact, another commercial break. Can I do my commercial break? This Saturday, I'm doing we're doing our solo race car event with about 1,000 elementary school kids at a stadium, and this is our 25th year, so it's a big deal. And UTSA students and others have come out in the past to help us run it. They'll be on the track racing about 300 vehicles. But I bring that up, one, because I need help. But more importantly, number two is those type of experiences are free that carry off for you later. The skills I learned leadership-wise on how to deal with all these 80 different schools, how to deal not only with the budget, but how to deal with teachers, how to deal with parents that are complaining to me about their car came in first and throwing video at me, et cetera. Those type of things carry through for your job, and they add to it. And those are things that you could do right now. So wherever you get a chance to do a leadership role, and I don't even care if you're the formal leader or informal leader. There's things you can do for ACM that you don't necessarily have to have that position, that you can still help out and take on responsibilities. Believe me, those skills carry off for you later. You can do all the training and other things you want to. I'm the type of person that you do things, not just go to I'm in a school, I gotta be careful. Not just go to the education part of it, et cetera. The other one that I mentioned a little bit earlier is really learning how to deal with different people is real critical. I think y'all know we're not all the same, without a doubt. And people do think differently. I don't care if you're in the same career field or not. So the more type of experience I can get with, how does Daniel think? How do I communicate with Daniel? It may be different on how I see things. I may not want to give Daniel a problem the same way. I may not want to give Daniel an agenda at a meeting. He may not be an agenda person. He may want to do things differently per se. So learning those type of things is when you engage in other activities that are occurring at the school. Even if it's outside of ACM, there's other things you can go out and see a game or something like that and get involved with those type of folks. Those are the type of things that carry through to you. And the last one I'll bring up, because I'm almost out of time, problem solving and creativity is the key for us also. And that key to that is to take on, without a doubt, different challenges. So every competition you can enter, do it. If you can do Cyber Patriot, what's it doing? Or what's it at the college level? Cyber, whatever. Yeah, CCDC. If you can do that, do that. But if you can go bowling also and challenge people, do that too. And I mean, again, it doesn't even matter if it relates to you or not. It's just that ideal of, hey, I'm solving something, I'm being competitive. Those are the type of things that you can do now, and then you can be more refined later in terms of, okay, now I just focus on my job. So that's the type of thing that I try to, hopefully our UTSA students, that'll make all the difference in the world for you. And the last one I'll bring up is, again, I'm going to encourage you all, whether you join the Mitre, the big companies, I'm really a big push of the small businesses right now. There's things you all could do right now that you can establish your own little small businesses and make it profitable and learn from those, et cetera. But again, to be successful with that small business, especially the ones I'm seeing that are struggling, because only like 10% of the small businesses are going to make it per se, it's because they weren't well-rounded. They knew how to solve a problem, but they didn't know how to market it, or they didn't know how to communicate it with others or other aspects, which are real critical in that part of it. Okay, so that's the last thing. That was the other thing I want to bring up. Okay, so do we have any? I guess we got about a minute or so. I'm watching time. Okay, all right, go ahead. We have time for questions. Oh, go ahead. You made me feel better. Yeah, I guess to be honest, two things with it. Everybody hear the question, how do you adapt your approach on the communication side, on not only who you're communicating, but how, et cetera. To be honest, I think the best thing, not that I'd be lying, I think the best thing is to just do a lot of it, and you learn from doing that, okay? Because what I find is, I may be, I don't know, communicating with the mayor one day, and I may be communicating with a technician the next day per se. And it's not any like there's any magic formula on how to do it per se. It's just because you do a lot of it. And I figure out ways how to do it. And then you learn from your past, in other words. So I think it's more of doing it than it is anything else. I think the other part is to always, and I'll give you two answers. If you can, is see it from their viewpoint, not yours. So if I'm going to see the mayor about it, I keep bringing that up, with an idea I have, I don't want to explain what my ideal is to the mayor, because I know that position is not the one that's going to make the final decision, for example. But I want to see where they see the value of it, so he can tell me who to talk to within the staff. Typically he's going to be concerned about, hey, politically, what's the impact going to be? Or, hey, is there something that we have from a budget sense? So I'll talk it that way. And then when I get to the staff, I'll just say, okay, what is their viewpoint, or what are they looking for to get out of it, or what's important to them? And that's another element of the communication that helps. Okay. What else? Yeah, go ahead.
You talked about the benefits of having like people skills,
yeah,
as well as technical skills. What are kind of the benefits to having like if you have one strong technical skill, but having a diverse set of other technical, like I'm a computer science major,
yeah.
How would it help me to understand a little bit of engineering or a little bit of biology or something along those lines?
Yeah, you said how would it help to do that part of it? Yeah. Oh, would it? No doubt it would. Yeah, because the reason why, and you all may have heard this, what you're learning in school right now doesn't apply a couple years down the line. In the terms of the, I'm gonna get in all kinds of trouble. in terms of the technical part of it, Your technical part, you can't learn what you need to learn right now. But how you learn is the key. How do I continue to learn, et cetera. So I think the other part of the answer to your question is it does help out because if you get involved with those other areas, you learn there's a different way of sort of seeing the world, and you learn how they learn also. Because the way an engineer goes about learning is different than computer science, where they even get their information and how they go about it, et cetera. So to answer your question, there's no doubt it carries forward, but my mindset is don't even think of yourself as a computer scientist or an electrical engineer, et cetera. Think of more along the lines of, hey, these are the type of problems I'm going to solve and the skill base I'm going to need to do that. And it may be programming and other things, but you got to realize later, 5 years from now, or 3 years from now, that's probably going to change. Okay, does that help a little bit? Okay, yeah, but don't, that's one thing I'll get in trouble for. Yeah, don't get hung up on that degree or what you're learning technically per se, because it's all going to change. I mean, I'm doing quantum and other, before I knew crypto and other systems, now I'm doing quantum. That had nothing in the world to do with it. That's a different world altogether. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, and again, remember, I'm a very opinionated person, but don't call yourself a jack of all trade because it waters it down when you say that. It makes it sound like you're not good at anything. And I'm sorry, you know what I'm saying? Just say, hey, I can do it. I can take care of whatever it is. And wherever I need to plug and play, I'm going to be the best at. And it still fits in the same way. It's just depending on the terminology and language that fits into it. The way that you showed to answer your question though, that's silent. Answer your question on your resume is when we're looking and others are looking too. We're looking for those words I told you, and to some degree. So first I'm looking is how many clubs were they in, and not only were they in clubs. So I want to know outside. I know you're going to get to degree, and everybody's got that. Got the 3.8 or whatever. I didn't focus on GPAs anymore. What I'm looking for is, hey, I did, and I'm gonna use a cyber example again. I've not only participated in rowdy hacks, but I killed it. Or I was a leader that organized it. So it's not as much as what you're doing. It's saying that, hey, I was the leader of that, and I had a major impact with it. And I'm looking for continuity. So if you did, you were here for 4 years, did you do something to grow yourself further in those 4 years in that area? So if you're part of ACM, don't tell me you're an ACM member for 4 years. That's okay. Tell me I was the ACM secretary, VP, or I headed this up. So I'm looking for progression because it shows me that you want to grow. So those are the type of things a lot of individuals, and if you have to work, that's fine too, but show additional responsibilities you had at work or along those lines. So that's what a lot of people are looking for now, that shows what you're talking about. Okay, and if you can show a lot of different things, that's where it carries forward. Okay, does that help a little bit? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they do all that. Yeah, no, and except for 1 degree. I'm gonna tell y'all why I said except for 1 degree, and that's the one I got. The other one I got. But yeah, Mitre definitely does 2 things with education. One, if you go on and get your math, that's the easy part. But there's we do a lot of continuing education opportunities too, because what we're starting to find is the short courses probably have just as much value. You go to something for a couple of weeks, you practice it, and you come back a month later. So we're doing more of those type of things in our particular regard. So no doubt. And it's actually now the company actually supports you not only, and it relates to this well-roundedness, if you want to understand psychology and other things, and I keep saying psychology because you won't believe how much that plays into everything nowadays more than what people realize, is one example. The one exception, because I got a law degree also, but Mitre wouldn't pay for that. But I'm not too sure about it. What else? Yeah, go ahead.
Diversifying yourself, how much value would you diversify like a degree in like 2 different like fields, like kind of like one like computer engineering and then one being like computer science?
Yeah, be honest, it depends on what company. With us, that's not as big a deal, but that's one you have to, depends on the company, et cetera. Because again, what we're really looking for more is what I want is, so I answer you. Remember, I'm just one person, one opinion. So I ask others the same type of questions I ask me. The reason why I hesitate a little bit on it, because I don't want you to look like you're just academic based. If you just show it as academics and you don't show me those other well-rounded things, I'm saying your time probably would have been better spent doing this as opposed to getting an additional degree. Slight exaggeration. So it depends. And yeah, it really depends on the company. I wouldn't get the same, I tell you. I wouldn't get a BS, and some people get like 2 masters. If you should, yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it really depends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-oh. You're quoting me. Go ahead. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
For your early career, would it benefit you more to get, like students get internships?
Yeah.
Would it benefit you more to get 2 internships in the same area, or 2 internships in at least one of each?
All right, well, that's it.
Like, for example, like I'm a electrical computer engineer. Like, if I got 2 internships in like digital design versus one in software, like one in
Right. From my perspective, to start out, I would do the 2 in the same area, long as it's not the exact same thing you're doing. Because at first you got to build up that depth, and that lets you build up that depth, and other things come into play. But if you don't have the depth there initially, then everything I've said just sort of, it doesn't apply as much. So I would definitely do the 2 in the same area first. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, if you're talking about Mitre, it's actually both. We're looking for both, because remember I said our company's split in half. All right, so we are the ones that are on the and what we call the Mitre labs. They got to be deep technically, no matter what, because that's what that focus is. They're dealing with emerging technologies, how these technologies apply. See, I'm on the program side of the house to work with sponsors. Then that's when I need both. Yeah, I need you to understand technically, but I also need you to have those other strong skills and other things across the board also. So again, that's why I said it, and be honest, most companies are going to be on the program side. There's very few that are going to be on that deep technical side of the house. Now at Mitre, what Mitre's done, knowing that, is they have sort of a dual growth path. It's actually multiple. They have sort of those that work on, that have more of the broad skills, and broad skills at Mitre is not very broad, but that can talk to a customer and also the technical part of it. And you can grow through the management chain. And that's why I grew. I was in charge of our work program in San Antonio, for example, until I took on this new role. So I went the management side of the house, but the engineering side is just as strong. I mean, all the way up to the president. And that's unusual, that you can be very, and then so the management one, you probably understand. The engineering one, let me show you how an engineer would grow. All right, let me see if I can give an example. Let's say initially you understood Python. This is a very bad example. I'm going to use it. All right. So initially you were an expert in Python. You know everything in the world about Python. Whatever else, etc. At this level. The next one would say, okay, now you're an expert on how to do agile development. You're still strong technically, but it's agile software development for those that are familiar with that side of the house. And then the next level would be a much broader sphere within computer science, for example. And it's just as powerful as the VP. And that's how you would grow in Mitre up the chain on the technical side of the house. Yeah. So, and that still exists. Yeah, you still have that. Now, is this the technical bigger? The one is there. So that's why I said it depends on the company. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh man, I'm glad you asked me that. We want to. If you got any information about other chapters, I've done other things with robotics and some other efforts, but not chapters. So we would be happy to work with other chapters, IEEE and others, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, that's okay. My email is really easy. It's just and this is illegal nowadays, I think. It's just the letters BB. Bravo about bb@mitre.org. So if you do, we want to be even more bigger time out here. I mean, our president, we've been pushing UTSA so much lately. I don't know if that sounds right. Your president actually met with our president of the company about 2 months ago. Because he's like, oh, this UTSA is big time. I said, yeah, I've been saying that for a while. But anyway, so yeah, so anything we can do right now, yeah, we'd be happy to. Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Everybody's quiet on me. Well, good. Well, make sure if y'all can, the two that are coming, is it next week? Yeah, the couple, they're really good. And that panel discussion they're gonna have on women in STEM, and they're very entertaining folks too. They're very good. So I hope y'all make that, and wish everybody the best. And again, remember that Air Force one if you're interested. But if you're interested in the Mitre one, just email me or anything I can help y'all out with. Okay. So appreciate being here. Thank you.
If you didn't get the sign in, just come see me. But otherwise, take some pizza on your way out. And like Bobby said, next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Be there. So I'll see you guys later.